Everybody's good, everybody's comfortable. All right, get started. All right, so I know most of you I probably met, some of you I haven't, maybe some of you know me. My name is Chris. I'm one of the owners and founders of Mission Nutrition, along with my brothers. One of them, which is on his way, he's just running late. I imagine some other people are, but it's all right. And I'm here today with Mike. He is my right-hand man, keto expert. And we're both, and Anthony, are going to take you guys on a little bit of, I don't want to call it a lecture, but a little bit of a workshop on what a ketogenic lifestyle is. And we call it a lifestyle. You know, me, Mike, my brother Anthony, we all live it. We're all advocates for it. But I just want to first start by saying this. One important thing I learned was, you know, you hear so many different things about different lifestyles, and you see so many things, and you hear from friends, you know, vegan, paleo, Whole30, autoimmune. I'm sure you all have heard these terms. And sometimes you just sit there and you go, well, what's right for me? Or, you know, how do I know what's best for me and my body? And the point I want to make to you all is that everybody's body is different. And just because Mike and I are standing up here today for advocates for ketogenic doesn't always mean keto is the best option for you. But what doesn't hurt is to get you to learn more and to explore it maybe, or maybe even try it and see how you feel. You might go through changes and different things, whether it's energy, focus, hormonal, and that's what I encourage you. Never blindly follow someone else's nutrition protocol. Always use your body and explore it, and judge how you feel. Take things out of your diet, put them back in, and really, really go off. Your body will tell you. You know, whether it's gluten, whether it's grains, whether it's dairy, whether it's meat, whether it's, you know, whatever it could be. So I just wanted to start off by saying that. And, you know, both Mike and I are coaches. We are health advocates. We do have certifications, but we are not also physicians. So before we get started, I want to make that clear. If anybody here has any kind of, you know, whether it's diabetes, thyroid issues, maybe pregnant, anything that could be medical, you always want to consult a physician too when you're seeking a lifestyle change or a diet change. For me, that's very, very important. I just want to take a quick second to show of hands. How many people here just have heard about ketogenic, wanting to learn more, but never attempted it? Okay. How many people here would say they're currently doing a ketogenic diet under 4 weeks? So consider that like kind of new. All right, now how many people above 4 weeks? We'll say those are the people that are kind of like fat adapted and used to it. All right, so we have a good mix of all. All right, so with that said, we're gonna get started. We're gonna talk about basically, so you guys have a comprehensive guide here. This is very, very thorough. Me and Mike are not gonna sit here and kind of read it. We're gonna use it as a tutorial, but not use it as a tutorial, but you guys can take this home and kind of really study it. It will be a great reference for you. We're also going to email you guys a couple things so you can reference it. But, you know, we're going to kind of speak to what we feel through our experience is what we feel are the best points to highlight. We're going to start very simple. We're going to just ask that you guys hold your questions to the end. On the back, we gave you like a little piece that you can write your questions down. You know, so if you do have a question, just write it at the end. This will probably take 45 minutes, then we'll go into like a Q&A. And then we're also going to give you guys some samples of some ketogenic treats that we make to give you guys some quick, easy recipes to try. So what's the hype? I mean, you guys hear it, you've heard it, you've done it, yes?
I just want to know, I'm really impressed with the age of you guys, and that it's guys that are into diet, and I mean, I'm not saying that's all guys are.
Yes.
But did you guys have problems, and then you came to this, or you did it through research, or?
That's a good question, and I can speak for myself, and I'm sure Mike will speak on his own, and I'll just say, you know, I came from a family growing up on fast food and candy and junk and, pasta. You know, pasta, yeah, I mean, everything. And, you know, at one point in my life, you know, being an entrepreneur required me a lot of demand as far as hours, cognitive function, just the way I felt. I always was crashing. I couldn't make it through the day. So I said, you know, it's got to be the way I'm eating. And it just encouraged me to explore. And I taught myself. I mean, when I got my coaching as a certification, so I was taught. That's when I furthered. But the first thing I did was start reading and learning and seeing what processed foods, what packaged foods, learning ingredients, and the first thing I ever did was do a paleo lifestyle, and that's what taught me, like, eat real food. And you know, and I'm sure Mike, I mean, you had a similar story, right?
Yeah, so my story was a little bit more, I guess, not medical, but I watched my mom grow up very sick. My aunt passed away from cancer, so a lot of the stuff my mom has was genetic. Mainly, I don't really understand all of it, but apparently a lot of it was females were more predisposed, and she had 2 boys. So I took that as kind of a second chance to have a little bit healthier of a life than she does. So I watched her kind of not take care of herself and kind of feed those diseases. So instead, I said, well, if I'm completely healthy, luckily, I should be taking care of my body. That way I can avoid that, or at least reduce the risk. And then I started getting more and more into, like, actually what it does to the body, what it does to the brain, how it can make me look good, which is a nice plus, stuff like that. So mine went a little bit more on the, like, you know, the fact that I saw people kind of treating their bodies poorly and getting sick from it, and I didn't want that. So I very easily could have gotten everything that she has, but I didn't. So I kind of took that as, like, a little bit of a second chance at being healthy. So that was where mine stemmed from.
I just want to say, because I've spoken to you, Chris,
Yes.
and it was here before, I've spoken to other people too, but it's really impressive because it's not just that you have the store, it's your energy and your passion for this.
I
And I'm telling
appreciate
you,
that.
that's really what makes me keep coming back,
I
because I know there's
appreciate
got to be
that.
something here. So I won't say
And
something,
that's really kind of what we look forward to, and that's why we're doing this meetups, to not only raise awareness and encourage a lifestyle change, but we want to see this group progress. We want to see you guys come back next month. We want to talk about other topics, see how you're doing, explore other things. We'll talk about, you know, things maybe not to do with ketogenic, or maybe we'll get specific and talk about keto with women and bring in a guest speaker, talk about intermittent fasting, talk about, you know, we have several topics that we can go on and on with, and we love to really progress with that group and raise that awareness. That's really our passion here. All right, so I'm sorry, but I just got to hit the slide because I don't have a clicker, but all right, so Mike's going to get into it right now in a little bit of detail about, you know, what a ketogenic diet is and how it works in the body. So, I mean, Mike, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, all right, so pretty much a ketogenic diet is when your body runs off of ketones for fuel instead of glucose for fuel, or fat adapted. So your body there's 2 different sources of fuel your body can use for fuel, energy, life. There's glucose that comes from sugar and carbohydrates, and there's ketones that come from fat or ketone bodies, right? So most people run off of glucose. That's from the standard American diet of what everyone either used to eat or still eats or whatever. You watch other people eat, all the carbs, all the sugars in excess, those all get broken down as glucose. Yes, that's feeding your body fuel and energy, but that's quick energy. It burns off very quick. That's why if you start your day with something like oatmeal and fruit, it might sound healthy, it sounds healthier than a bacon, egg, and cheese, but you're usually crashing before lunch because that's carbs and sugar. You're starting your day with that, it's burning off very quickly. Not to mention the glucose in excess is going to store as body fat and cause massive inflammation. And a lot of disease and illness stems from inflammation. So right there and then, by dropping the glucose, by dropping the carbs and sugar, you're already on your way to reducing the inflammation. With that, so keto is not just dropping carbs. Dropping the carbs is only half of it. You have to add in the healthy fats. Because if you drop your carbs, that's glucose dropping, and you don't, fats is what breaks down as ketones. So that's the other fuel source. If you don't have a sufficient amount of healthy fats and you drop your carbs, your body has nothing to run off of. The tank's on empty, you're running on fumes, right? That's when you're tired, and a lot of times that's the problem with like a Quito Flu, which we'll get into, is you're very lethargic, you're fatigued, your brain fog. It's because your body has nothing to run on. So being keto is dropping your carbohydrates and your sugars, and that's not no carb, that's low carb and low sugar, and you have to add those high healthy fats in. So that's pretty much the basis around what keto is and how it starts.
So I also want to raise a point too. When you're in keto and you're using that glucose for fuel and that insulin is present, if you're doing a ketogenic diet for weight loss, it is very important that if you produce that hormone, insulin, your body cannot burn fat. Your body is going to rely on burning that glucose first. And then if you're not actually burning that glucose, what's going to happen is if you consume excessive amounts of carbohydrates and you're not burning it, you all know that it's going to store, and it stores as fat. fat, believe it or not, is the only macronutrient that is not really going to produce much insulin, if any at all. So, and that saying that, oh, fat's going to make you fat, it's not really true. And all those statements have been retracted, and we're going to get into that later. But I just wanted to make that point. And then also, too, keto has been around for years and years and years, and we've learned more and more about it. But you'll see at the bottom there, it's actually a natural state of survival.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you were stranded on an island, and you didn't eat it, your body's going to go naturally into ketosis. So what it's doing is when there's no glucose present, and when your body's fat adapted, it goes to your body fat, and then it starts using that for fuel. And that's how people lose a lot of weight on a ketogenic diet when it's done correctly.
And also, too, like you said, basically fat is not insulinogenic. And the problem is with most diets, like, or regular ways of eating, we do consume way too many carbs. And like Chris said, the first place excess glucose stored for most people is their stomach. So that's why this is like one of the best ways to actually burn those stubborn parts of the fat, so it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, so ketones, pretty much like I said before, when you eat a healthy fat, they're broken down as ketones. And that's pretty much what your body can actually run off of for fuel, energy, and like Chris said, pretty much it's very low, or if any, not at all insulinogenic. So it's not going to produce much insulin, if any, and that's a really good way to actually get the energy without it storing as fat and raising insulin and storing belly fat, like Anthony was saying.
And another thing too is you might hear somebody say, well, the brain needs glucose, right? The brain needs glucose to function. And that actually is far from the truth. Your brain can actually function at a much higher level when it's on ketones. I mean, I sit here speak to you with so much energy, right? It's not because, maybe it could be.
Well, we drink a lot of coffee. But it's not just that.
But so you almost will stop yourself when you're in it. You will almost stop yourself sometimes and be like, I almost feel euphoric. And I am not kidding you. It makes you, it's like brain food. Mm-hmm. So when ketones are running high, your brain is remotely crisp. It's sharp and it's very on point.
And that's why it's actually used for like people, or especially children who are fed these high sugar diets. For ADD, ADHD, it's real like a natural, like almost nootropic, which is pretty cool.
So I mean, we'll highlight some of why ketogenic is important and what the benefits are.
Yeah, so pretty much, pretty clear as you can see here. And you can lower blood pressure, reduce cravings. That's a big one. A lot of times, if you're using ketones properly, using fats for ketones properly, you're doing ketogenic the right way, a lot of times the cravings get kicked. So a lot of customers or whoever, when they come in, almost all the time, I don't know, like I'm sure Chris and Anthony too, when they come and ask me, one of their first questions is, well, how can I do that without giving up my pasta? How can I do that without giving up my bread? Rightfully so. If you've grown up your entire life eating pasta and bread, why would you just give it up overnight? It's not that easy. But like when you're doing it the right way, those cravings go away. So people ask me all the time. People ask all of us all the time, how can you refrain from eating poorly when you go out to eat?
Well,
just,
Mike, how do you feel after you eat a bowl of pasta?
Yeah,
You're tired. That's basically it.
What about like this? How many of you have ever experienced where you almost get like, you think your blood sugar is low and you get shaky and you're looking at your food, right? What if I told you you could eat for fast for 16 hours and that would probably not happen? Where like your meals, in between your meals, you're not going like this, you're not getting lightheaded because your body has the fat source for fuel. When you run on glucose and you don't eat, and you're not giving your body that fuel, you will feel hungry, you will get hangry, you will start shaking. When you're in a ketogenic state and you're fat adapted, that really doesn't happen. You might go all day and find yourself, wow, I didn't eat. Now, I'm not saying, we want to eat because it's nutritious, but it is a very, very good feeling that when you do that, you can't, that won't happen. Yeah.
It's not a question, I just wanted to interject something. I had a medical procedure today, and I haven't eaten since Monday night. And I made dinner for my daughter and sons or my grandchildren last night.
Right.
And I wasn't even hungry, and I'm still not hungry.
Right.
It actually gets easier as the hours go on and on. It definitely does too.
And like Chris said, you'll stay full and satisfied. the healthy fats that you're eating, they take a longer time to digest and burn off. Like I said before, with the first, when we first, introduced it, glucose burns off quickly. Fat, it takes a while to burn off. That's why when you're eating high healthy fat, you can go, like Chris said, longer periods of time. You'll feel still satisfied and full, and that's kind of a part of why the cravings don't really.
And if
creep
you're
up.
not eating fat in those times and you're just fasting,
Yeah.
you're getting your energy from your own body fat, which is
Exactly.
another cool thing.
Yeah.
So it's, you're always going to get energy from fat, whether it's from fat that you eat or fat off your own body.
And that goes to that too. Improved energy, increased weight loss. That's a big thing. For me, energy was one of the biggest things. So I was always very tired. I was always feeling run down. And when I first started keto, I think like 2.5 years ago, I wasn't working as hard as I looked like I was working. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't working hard enough to be super run down like that. So increased energy was one of the biggest things for me, and I've noticed that in a pretty big way. So that was big for me.
So here's the big question.
Yeah.
Everybody always goes, all right, so what do I eat? How much do I eat? Fats, protein, carbs, those are your 3 macronutrients. So the easy thing we do, and we'll get into this later in a little bit about, do I count, do I not count? But the simple thing to do is, I love this sentence, where's the fat? When you eat a meal and you look at the plate, the first thing you ask yourself is, where is my fat? Is my fat my most dominant macronutrient? And what are those fats look like? And we're gonna get into what are the good fats to eat. The next thing is your moderate amount of protein. Standard rule of thumb, take your fist, that's what you eat. You might see a lot of people posted up a 20-ounce ribeye, 1 broccoli. That's not ketogenic. Yeah, you can enjoy that, but you want the protein to be moderate and the fat to be high, and then your carbs is going to be very low, so they would come from fiber or vegetables and like that. And the key thing with protein being moderate is that protein can actually convert to glucose. So your body will take that protein, if it's too high, turn it into glucose, which can prevent you from fully getting into a fat-adapted state.
And one big mistake too is whey protein. Whey is very insulinogenic because it is so fast absorbing. So people think post-workout, oh, this whey protein shake doesn't have any carbs, it has 25 grams of protein, it's perfect post-workout. However, like Chris said, that's probably the fastest acting protein, so it will definitely raise your blood sugar and probably drop your ketone levels.
Our favorite way to get protein is from food. We'll go over what foods are great. If you want a powdered protein and make a smoothie, we always love collagen. We're a big fan of collagen, bone broth. You can get marine collagen if you feel more comfortable, but we're big fans of that.
Even if you guys ever see, like we can show you after, if you see the keto shakes that we have, the keto supplement shakes, none of them are going to have whey protein in them. They're all going to be collagen based for the most part, because like Anthony said, it's insulinogenic. So it really wouldn't be a keto shake if it used whey protein.
And
That's why
collagen
they're
will
all
keep
collagen.
you younger, always,
Yeah.
10 years younger.
And your hair, look at your hair.
You have to tell them.
Right?
If you convince the vegetarians.
Yeah, I did convince a vegetarian to drink coffee.
Yeah. All right. So this is one of my favorite parts. It's a lot of like percentages, and it looks kind of confusing at first glance, but this is what helped me kickstart keto without getting super confused. So this is pretty much a breakdown. If you'll have it in your packets too to take home. This is pretty much a simple breakdown, give or take, of what percentages of your calories should come from each macronutrient. So about 75 to 80% from fat, 20 to 25% from protein, and 5 to 10% from carbohydrates. That's going to automatically, if you follow this ballpark number, obviously everyone's body is different, everyone's lifestyle is different, some people are more active than others. There's a lot of factors, right? So that's pretty much, if you do that, it'll automatically turn into the majority of your diet, fat, moderate protein, low carb, if you go kind of by the percentages.
I mean, if we give an example, that's
Yeah.
an 1800 calorie diet. You may want to try it at 1500 calories. Somebody may, I do 2000. But you'll have an idea of how to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure everybody here has an iPhone or an Android and you have apps. MyFitnessPal is great.
That's what I
You can
use.
use that as a macro tracker in the beginning if you want. You'll get to the point where you won't even need it anymore because you'll know what you're eating. But in the beginning, it might be a good tool so you can kind of see where you're at, because you may not understand how much fat an avocado has, or a whole egg has, or some foods. And on that app, you can type it in real quick, and it'll tell you immediately where you're tracking for the day. So this is an important thing. Everybody will say, how many carbs can I eat? Recommended, especially if you're just starting out. You kind of want to stay as strict as you can. Don't want to really get your body confused with using glucose. So first 4 weeks, I'd say stick to 25 net carbs per day. Very active people, maybe if you're working out and you're lifting 4 or 5 times a week, you can maybe push the envelope a little and get to 35. All three of us have experimented and gone to 60 and still tested with ketones.
Yeah.
But then again, that is in a stage where you've been fat adapted, and that could take 6 or 8 weeks sometimes until you're really, really running on fats for fuel. And those carbs are strategically placed around either a workout or prior to a fasting state.
Yeah, like Chris said too, like you don't want to confuse your body. If you're having a little bit too high of carbohydrates and your body's still converting it to glucose, yet you're having healthy fats too, but your body's trying to convert those to ketones, they're going to be butting heads fighting for the spot for fuel and energy, and your body's going to get very confused. So it's not going to know what to do fat adapted because there's still glucose present, probably enough to use as energy.
Tell them the difference, Mike?
Yeah, this again is one of my favorite topics. A lot of people restrict themselves in the beginning more than they need to because they're counting total carbohydrates. Maybe because you don't know what a net carb is or how to find it, whatever. But net carbs is total carbs minus the fiber and minus any sugar alcohols that may be in that product. A lot of ketogenic alternative products, we could show you that after too for examples. They use sugar alcohols, erythritol, xylitol, stuff like that. So those things don't really metabolize in the body, or at least as glucose or anything that would count that as a carb. Same thing with fiber. Right? So that's why you're going to back it out. If the product has 20 grams of total carbs, 10 grams of fiber, it really only has 10 grams of net carbs. The net carbs are the carbohydrates your body's actually taking and digesting as carbs. Does that make sense?
So
Right.
they won't have any impact on your blood sugar.
Yeah.
And there's 2 types of fibers. There's insoluble and soluble
just gonna
fiber.
say, yeah.
So if you eat an avocado, guess what, people? An avocado is 24 grams of carbohydrates, but 22 of them are insoluble fiber. It's not digested by the body, and it has no effect on your blood sugar. And then things like soluble fiber, if you want to throw chia and flax into your shakes, they won't be metabolized by the body.
A cool thing too, I actually did more research on this a few months ago because I was talking to someone about net carbs, and someone made the argument that you can't subtract all the fiber because they're soluble and insoluble, like Anthony just said. That's true, but I dug a little bit deeper and I found out that 98% of soluble fiber actually can help lower blood glucose levels. So even if you're digesting it as fiber, yes, you can still back it out. And even if it's not indigestible like insoluble fiber, it's actually going to help you on keto because it's going to help either regulate or lower blood glucose levels.
And
So
allulose.
it's still not going to.
too.
Yeah, allulose too.
So this we're not going to read this whole thing, but this is good for you guys to read on your own. This just goes into what we've been told for so many years. I'm talking back since the 50s, Mike.
Yeah, 1950s. You
You know
guys can
how-
look up Ansel Keys. He's like the one that made the first claim that saturated fat was bad for you.
We live in a society where we were so, they drove it in our minds that fat, it's bad. We're talking about the good fats. Eggs, good butter, and things like that they're going to cause cardiovascular disease. They're going to give you bad cholesterol. You're going to die from it. It causes obesity. It causes diabetes. And in fact, all those, and I can email you guys the links. You can see all that the drug companies, and this is not just me, saying it. The drug companies skewed this. They skewed it to push the statin drugs. And they skewed it in favor of them. So now when you go to a doctor and you immediately have high cholesterol, you're given a statin without even checking your particle size, your calcium scores, your inflammation markers. There is no science out there that shows that anybody with high healthy cholesterol died of a heart attack or anything like that.
And there's 2 levels of cholesterol, HDL and LDL.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you can do the research, which they're not even cholesterol. They're transports for old and new cholesterol. They're really neither of them. even though they say good and bad, they're both transports. But what killed people was inflammation. So it wasn't the cholesterol and the buildup going like this and giving you a heart attack. It was this, the shrinking. But the fat in the cholesterol was there. It was the shrinking. And what is the number one cause of inflammation in the world? Sugar consumption.
And then if you combine that with fats too, so people were usually eating these high sugar and high fat diets, and that's just a recipe for a disaster.
And high grain diets.
Well, and grains too, which are very inflammatory.
Right, you got companies like Cheerios putting out, hey, eat this, it's healthy, you know, because it lowers cholesterol.
And then just to what Chris said before, look at the American Heart Association, and what did they do about coconut oil? What was this, like 6 months ago?
Yeah.
They said coconut oil is bad for you. And that goes exactly to the point of pushing pharmaceuticals on people and not really understanding or grasping the terms of the importance of saturated fats and actually how they can lower, you know, your good cholesterol.
So yeah.
And that too, I just want to really quick, because back to why fat is bad. Like, people go, and a lot of times I find that people still go for fat-free products in the store, low fat, because they think it's a diet product or they think it's healthier. When you get like a fat-free yogurt, for example, yogurt's supposed to have fat in it, naturally. If they suck the fat out of it, which is gross to begin with, I don't even know the process, but it just sounds gross. I use that word to make it sound gross. If they take the fat out of it, it's not going to taste very good, and they're not going to sell it. There are two main things they can replace it with: protein or sugar. Sugar or artificial sweeteners. Sugar and artificial sweeteners taste a lot better, so they're going to sell a lot more of it, and it's a lot cheaper. So your fat-free or low-fat products that you might have been using could be are most likely backfiring on that. So that's like a marketing thing, the low-fat, fat-free, but now you guys know to go for the
And
the
a
full
lot of
fats.
those low-fat yogurts did use aspartame at the
Yeah.
time, and if
Yeah.
you remember, everybody got sick from Crystal Light and, you know, Diet Coke, so those actually can even be worse than just regular sugar.
All right, so like Anthony said before, there's two cholesterol. There's HDL and LDL. A lot of times when you go to the doctor, they say, hey, your cholesterol is high. You know, try to be mindful of which cholesterol, you know. So HDL and LDL, and that's, keep in mind too, the ketogenic diet or a high healthy fat is going to help lower LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, but like Chris said, it's really not as it seems, and raise the good cholesteral.
Yes.
So that's actually,
Triglycerides are in check, and
Yes.
your ratios are good.
Yeah.
You could live with a higher HDL ratio. And you know, I just want to make another point too, that your brain, your body, your cells, it's all made of cholesterol. Your body will produce 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day of cholesterol, whether you ingest it or not.
yeah.
So when we're told for years, don't eat eggs because it's going to raise your cholesterol, it's a myth. I mean, most of the cholesterol that's in your blood, genetics can play more of a role than eating eggs.
Yeah.
But you know, so
Absolutely.
if you do this diet, or you live this lifestyle, let's say you do go to a doctor and they look and they just want to write a script and say it's high, I encourage you, challenge them. Say,
Yeah.
oh well, is my LDL high? Are my triglycerides okay? If that all looks good and my ratios look good, don't you think I should be fine? And just ask. And then if they say no, your LDL's high, you should take it a step further and ask them what your particle size is.
Yeah.
So if you have big fluffy particles, you're okay. If you have small dense ones,
But you
that's
have to go
something that
over
you
to
have to
special
think about.
Yeah.
So those are questions that you guys can ask your doctors too.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask them. Like Chris said, it's not, they're just gonna tell you, hey, your cholesterol's high. They're not gonna sit you down, most likely they're not gonna sit you down and break it down like that for you. So they're just gonna say, hey, your cholesterol's high, here's some drugs. All right, so like Chris said, like, don't be afraid to ask them.
And
They ask their
also-
doctors, but like challenge them, like Chris said, don't be afraid, ask them.
Your inflammation markers, that's another thing you ask them. You know, check my inflammation markers. My inflammation markers are okay. And my LDL's a little on the higher side. You know, you're not, there's nothing saying you're unhealthy. But, you know, doctors are only given, it's very fine line today with insurance and what they can say and practice and all these things. So it's very like by the book. So sometimes it's tough.
We spoke about this a
We
little bit,
did.
but we have, say, good fats and bad fats, or healthy fats and
Right.
not so healthy fats. But all sugar is
Need
not
phone?
good.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that. We're not gonna say that, you know, we'll get into that. Just save it for a couple slides. Right now, we're gonna just talk a little bit about, eating too much fat on a keto diet. That's, again, another concern. So people might say, if I'm eating all this fat, I'm consuming 150, 200 grams of fat, whatever it is a day, is that unhealthy? If you're consuming the right fats, you're going to be okay. But you do want to be mindful if you're trying to lose weight, especially. Because fat is 9 calories per gram. So if you're eating in abundance, you still will maintain a level of ketosis. But your weight aspect you may not be losing as much as you'd like to. And that could be just because you need to tweak the calories a little bit. We give a suggestion on there, so you could just Google it, look it up. But Google has a good keto calculator, so it kind of will tell you your macros based on what you want to do. So if you want to gain weight, if you want to lose weight, what your activity level is, it'll kind of lay out what your macros will look like. But again, just be mindful. Don't just go eat unlimited amounts. So now you guys want to jump in and talk about the foods to eat. We're gonna go over what you just said to eat and to avoid.
Yeah, you want. I mean, as far as meats, eggs, and nuts, meat's always grass-fed. The fat has a different fatty acid profile from a grain-fed as opposed to a grass-fed cow. Same thing with eggs, pasture-raised eggs. When you crack a pasture-raised egg yolk, you could look at the yolk, you can see the color. It's different, it's orange. You could actually eat these eggs raw, and if you do, I know it sounds gross, but they're much more bioavailable.
Yeah.
You'll get all the nutrients out of it. You'll get the biotin, all the healthy omegas, the K2. So there's a lot to go in saying about the quality of the egg. Nuts, macadamia nuts, probably one of the healthiest nuts you could eat. It will lower your triglycerides. It will raise your good HDL. It will lower your bad cholesterol. So vegetables, obviously.
Yeah.
Spinach.
Yeah. Spinach is a big one for me. I love sauteed spinach. I do a lot of broccoli. I do a lot of asparagus,
kale.
Peppers, onions. Get creative with it. And even the carbs, you can see if you're using MyFitnessPal, some vegetables might be a little higher in carbs. You can still use them, just maybe not as much. Try to limit them a little bit, and not that you have to measure it out or anything, but just be mindful of how much of it you're using.
The greens are great for fat flushing.
Yeah.
They're great to put that to offset the acidic state in your body. They help alkaline, get you back to a neutral state.
They're loaded with fibers too, so they will actually help keep you full too.
And just this is more health than keto, or they tie in, of course. But when you're cooking your vegetables, try not to burn them, or when they start to get brown. If a green vegetable starts to get brown, once you start to burn the vegetable, it starts to lose its nutritional value, and some vegetables can actually become carcinogenic. So you want to try that. That's with anything.
And don't
your
cook them in
eggs, your
olive
meat,
oil.
and stuff like that. Yeah, your eggs, your meat, stuff like that. I even like if I do skirt steak, I like it well done, but I try not to burn it because that black charcoal that lowers the nutritional value of what I'm eating, and then it can be actually carcinogenic to my body too.
Like Anthony said, olive oil.
Yeah.
It's a low heat temp oil.
Yeah.
So as soon as that starts smoking, it can become carcinogenic. You want to cook it either avocado oil, lard, butter, things
Coconut
like
oil.
that.
Ghee.
Coconut oil, ghee.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, olive oil. You
For
can only
our
heat
area.
olive oil to
Macadamia oil.
about
is very good,
150 degrees.
And then the controversial one is dairy.
Yeah.
And that's a big question we often get asked is, can I have dairy? Or, hey, I want to do keto, but I don't want to eat dairy. It's the same thing for meat. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people that do vegan keto, right? There's plenty of people that do keto without dairy. There's plenty of people that do keto with moderate dairy, and there's plenty of people that eat plentiful dairy. So that's going to just be a matter of exploring your own body and seeing what you can tolerate. I mean, for instance, I know Mike doesn't really do dairy. He can have gluten. Ant does. You do moderate, right? I'll do a little moderate. But if you're going to do it, what we recommend is always trying to look for things like organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised. Like Anthony said before, that's what's going to yield the high omega-3 content, the high-quality fat content. If you're using regular dairy,
Omega-6s. Inflammatory.
Or omega-6s, which is inflammatory. So some of the dairies will say is grass-fed cheeses, sour cream, yogurt, heavy cream. But again, moderately try it out. If you feel that you're getting adverse side effects from it, or you feel inflammation going up, you feel you have a loose stool, you may have to consider not using dairy as a source of fat.
And everybody's different, so I could probably eat dairy and be fine, whereas Mike can't. You know, you can get skin rashes, you can get upset stomach, so everybody's bodies process foods differently.
Fruits, Mike?
Yeah, fruits. Fruits in the beginning, I would kind of try to stay away from them. Once you're fully fat adapted and you're rocking and rolling on keto, like I have some blackberries once in a while. I'll keep it to half a cup and I'll get the antioxidants and all the benefits from the berries. But in the beginning, like we were saying before, you want to try to keep the glucose, carbs and sugar turning into glucose as low as possible. That way your body doesn't get confused of what to use, glucose or ketones, or it's not going to really understand it. So I would definitely try to almost eliminate them in the beginning. Then you can slowly start adding them back in like I do. I love blackberries, so like I said, I have about half a cup. In the beginning, I had absolutely none for about a month or so. It took me a little bit longer to get into keto because I had no help. So it took me about 3 weeks to really get into it because I wasn't doing it properly. But I cut them out. Now you can add them back in once you're in there. Like we were talking before, the healthy fats and oils. This is probably most people's favorite. You know, cooking in things like lards, grass-fed butters, ghee, MCT oils. MCT oil is more like for your coffee, for your tea. You can even put it on your food. You know, some of the MCT oils don't taste like anything, don't smell like anything. You throw it on with your salad dressing or whatever. Coconut oil. Olive oil is good to put on after. So like we were saying, it's not good to cook with. You can really only heat it to about 150 degrees Fahrenheit before it starts to hit that smoke point and become toxic. So that's really good if you like the flavor of it and you want the healthy fats after. Once it's done cooking in either the grass-fed butter or the avocado oil, then you can put the olive oil on after.
I just want to add one thing to that too.
Yeah.
The most important thing on a ketogenic diet is the last thing on that oil, the
MCTs.
MCT. That's a medium chain triglyceride. So what that is a fat that is bypassed by your liver and put directly into the bloodstream. Now what does that do? It will elevate ketones in your body like that. So when we drink our bulletproof coffee, guess what? You know why you feel so good? Because your ketones are flowing, your liver is producing these, carbohydrate cravings go down, energy goes up. So that is like one of the most essential oils on a ketogenic diet.
That's definitely a staple.
2 to 3 tablespoons a day.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, your stomach might not be able to handle it, like Mike. You gotta start low,
Even
maybe
now.
half a tablespoon. But don't
Forget
be
the
afraid
beginning.
of the calories
Yeah.
because they're not stored as fat and they are used for energy.
That's also a good way too. A big question we get asked is, how do I increase if my fats are low for the day, if you're tracking them, how do I increase my fats without increasing my protein? Which if you think about it, it's a pretty solid question because most of the guys say, oh, okay, I'll have a grass-fed burger. That's gonna increase my fats, but it's also gonna increase my protein. Like Chris said before, too much protein is gonna get broken down as glucose, which we don't want. So the oils, especially the MCT oil, which like Anthony said is a staple in the ketogenic diet, that's a really easy way to get just the fat without the protein. So that's really good, and there's a lot of different things you can do with it too. Herbs and spices, try to limit anything with sugar, added sugar. It might just look like a spice, but always try to get into the habit of turning it around and looking at the label. I was looking at, I think it was like a black pepper garlic mix or something the other day, and they added sugar to it. I have no idea why. It's completely unnecessary, but if I didn't turn it around and look at the label, I would have thought, hey, it's just black pepper and garlic powder, and I would have been using it every day. Meanwhile, they had about 2 grams of sugar per 2 tablespoons, which, yes, it's minimal, but it does add up, especially in the beginning. So try to get in the habit of looking at those and sticking with just the spices without anything added.
So these are just slides, and guys, you'll get pictures. We're not going to go through them. They're just going to give you what your net carbs are pretty much on 3.5 ounces or 100 grams per, your different oils or veggies or, fruits. So you can see, again, spinach, asparagus, cucumber, avocado, olives, broccoli. You'll see these are all fairly low. So you can eat an abundance of these. There's your nuts. This is a great one. Our favorites are definitely macadamia, pecan, my personal. Walnuts are actually good too. I don't think they're on here, but walnuts are definitely friendly. Ones you want to be, Brazil nuts are great. You want to be mindful even of almonds. You want to be very mindful of cashews. I mean, look at, in 100 grams, you're at 27 carbs. So I would eat those more in moderation. Oh yeah, walnuts are on there.
You're okay a little bit because they are resistant starches,
Yeah.
so they do feed the gut, the prebiotics, so it's not going to be full 27 carbs, maybe half, but
Right.
it is still carbs.
And back to the berries again. Those are the best ones. You're looking, if you're gonna do it, it's gonna be a quarter cup, half cup. You're gonna try to stage it around either some type of athletic activity, the gym, or you're gonna maybe do it maybe late in the evening before you're gonna enter a fasted state. So chances are your body can burn that glucose off by the time you wake up. So there's strategic ways to eat.
And I always recommend MCTs when you're eating those fruits. So put it on there or get it on there somehow, but that'll help keep the ketones going while you do have that little bit of insulin spike. And then you could actually run on kind of like a dual fuel source of glucose and ketones. So you won't ever get kicked out.
But that's for advanced.
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
That's
in reality, sugar is sugar, right? Whether you want to call it table sugar, whether you want to call it maple syrup, whether it's berries, fruits, bananas, whatever it is, in a ketogenic state, sugar produces insulin, drives glucose. So you try to want to be mindful and avoid it at all costs. Think of this as a treat. And when you're fully fat adapted.
That's my treat. Like if I want something sweet after dinner, blackberries is what I have.
And then you'll get into fat sauces here. We won't get into that, but I take them all what to avoid.
Yeah. So what to avoid? Grains, gluten is there too, but gluten and grains. I actually cut gluten and grains out about 4 years ago, before I even started keto, just by choice. Not celiac. I did research and I researched and understood what grains and gluten actually do to the body, the gut, the brain. So, grains are what you would try to be mindful of it. A lot of people think whole grain bread is better than regular bread. I'll be honest with you, it's the same thing. It's really not much different. They might add a little bit of fiber and some sprouted stuff in the bread. At the end of the day, it's gluten, it's grains, it's still something to avoid. Right? Not to mention those are going to add up as carbs for if you're doing ketogenic. So by cutting out the grains, you're doing your gut and your brain and your overall body and organs, everything, a huge, huge favor. Right? Beans and legumes, that's another big one. Something that got me to stop, I used to like chickpeas. Literally used to eat them every day, like at least a can. What got me to really understand why they're so bad for your health, eating them every day. Eating them every day, I mean, a lot of these beans contain mold, like mycotoxins, and that's a little bit more scientific, but you can look it up if you really want to go through the reading like I did. So you're consuming mold every day, which is then producing inflammation, which, like I said before, we want to reduce as much inflammation as possible. Higher sugar fruits, like Chris said, sugar. Again, we always get the question, but it's from fruit. Fruit's good for you. Yes, fruits has its benefit, but the higher sugar fruits, like bananas, mangoes, apples, plums, they might taste really good, but they have sugar. That's why they taste good.
They have antioxidants in
Yeah,
them,
they
but
have
your
their
body
benefits.
can't differentiate a glass of Coca-Cola and
Yeah.
a glass of orange juice.
Yeah.
It's going to be processed the same exact
Yeah,
way.
there's no like laundry chute that says, okay, this is natural sugar, good to go. This is processed sugar. There's one, it gets processed as sugar, glucose, raises insulin. Doesn't matter, like Anthony said, if it's from a banana or a candy bar, if it's from Coca-Cola or orange juice, sugar is sugar. And in the higher sugar fruits, yes, they have benefits, but in all reality, the benefits don't outweigh the sugar content. Where like in berries, say for instance, the benefits kind of do outweigh the sugar because they're lower sugar, lower glycemic. Right?
And the nutrients we get from a lot of those fruits are it says right at the bottom, those vitamins and minerals and some of those nutrients. You can fulfill that through a lot of things.
Yeah.
And even those low
does everybody know here,
glycemic
like,
fruits.
people say, oh,
Yeah.
bananas have a great amount of potassium, and avocado has more.
Yeah.
There's so many nutrient dense. That's why we encourage to eat a plentiful diet with greens, not just meat and fats, but have plentiful greens because you're going to get those nutrients. And obviously the starches, like for example, when you talk about paleo or Whole30, they avoid taking you out of taking grains and glutens and legumes, all for great reasons, because phytic acid in those actually blocks you from absorbing the nutrients. There are benefits to starchy veggies like sweet potatoes, and squash and cassava. My buddy over here has a great bagel. Give him a plug.
Yeah.
that's made with cassava. And as you get more advanced, you kind of have to avoid these to be in a ketogenic state. But as you get more advanced, you know, you can kind of treat it as like the fruit if you're going to have one of those things, because it's very low glycemic. And it's like Anthony mentioned before, it is a resistant starch, so it's slow release. So it's not going to spike your blood sugar so high. But again, we want you to get acclimated to being fat adapted before you explore those options. And as we progress with this class, and if you guys continue to come, we'll teach you more of those different things that you can do. I mean, we kind of went through this, but
Yeah.
you want to give it a go, Mike?
Yeah, so the artificial sweeteners, the smoothies and acai bowls that everyone thinks are so healthy for you, acai by itself is disgusting. If they didn't add sugar to it, acai bowl places wouldn't
Very
exist.
bitter.
It's very bitter. It's awesome for polyphenols, antioxidants, but they add sugar to it. Otherwise, they'd never be able to sell it as an acai bowl. Right? So you want to try to keep that in mind. That usually has the higher sugared fruits on them. When you go to a smoothie bar, tropical smoothie, not to knock one person, it's the first thing that came into my head, but their smoothies are filled with sugar. That's why they taste amazing, right? But there are other ways to get it, like our smoothies, right? We don't use sugar in our smoothies because it's not necessary. Like they load it in, but it's really not necessary. And the artificial sweeteners are another big one that you want to try to stay away from. You know, they're in a lot, which is like I said before, turn the label around, take the extra 60 seconds to turn it around and look at it. And
Yeah, like
we have to, yeah.
aspartame and maltitol, which maltitol is actually a sugar alcohol, but most people, and you would think to back that out, but most people don't even realize that maltitol is insulinogenic
Yeah.
and will raise your blood sugar.
Even
so
the
you have
artificial
to be
sweeteners,
careful.
a lot of times you'll go for like a sucralose or an aspartame type of thing, like a sweeten low, or people don't realize either. Sucralose, yes, it's an artificial sweetener. Yes, it's not sugar. Yes, it's not a sugar alcohol. Sucralose in certain amounts can spike your blood sugar levels. There's been instances where high enough sucralose amount can kick you out of a ketogenic state.
And it'll only make you hungrier and
Yeah.
bloated. So
Where we at?
And not to mention, it's a chemical. It's an artificially made chemical. So you don't want to put chemicals into your body anyway. I mean, those things are chemicals. They're going to cause the inflammation. They're going to clog up your gut, your brain, everything like that too.
Well, with the seed oils, like Anthony said
Yeah.
before, you want to watch out because these seed oils, these vegetable oils, they are high in omega-6, which is going to be inflammatory in large amounts. Canola oil, sunflower, peanut, soy, vegetable oils, grain-fed butter, margarines, trans fats. You want to read. When you buy a dressing in a supermarket, probably 9 out of 10 times it has one of those in it.
At least one of those.
Very, very,
Yeah, they're
very
hard to
conscious
find
of
good ones.
condiments. I mean, we have a great brand called Primal Kitchen. Everything's made with avocado oil, no added sugar, and they're high in healthy fats. So
Even the if you're going to get like a package of walnuts, right? Still turn around and look at it. Same thing. I went to the store the other day. I got pistachios, which is I'm allergic to all the other ones that you saw on the screen. So pistachios are a little higher carb, but they're the only ones I can eat. So I turned it around and I saw cottonseed oil, canola oil, and sunflower oil.
Yeah.
Like why?
They're pistachios. There should be nothing in that bag besides pistachios and sea salt. That's it. But they add it in and they process it. Makes it last a little bit longer, so it's more money for them for it to last on the shelf. Probably makes it taste a little bit better, but at that point, you don't want to be putting that stuff in your body. So like Chris said, turn it around and read it, because 9 out of 10 times, there's going to be one, if not more than one, in your dressing or your.
And knowing this, and knowing this too, and knowing the quality of the fat, and knowing how good these are for you, this is what separates ketogenic dieting, what we're doing now, from 10 years ago with Atkins.
Yeah.
And people lost weight on Atkins. But people were not healthy. And why? Because they did not care about the quality of their fat.
Yeah.
They went to McDonald's and ate burgers without the buns, and they used all these oils on their salads. And guess what? That's very inflammatory for your body. Yeah, you'll lose weight, but you're also going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
So that was why that's not around anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why ketogenic concepts and ketogenic dieting, this is only going to grow because people are going to live healthy lives and still lose weight and feel better. So that's a big part of this.
All right, so we gotta ask for a show of hands, right? Who likes a little wine with their dinner, or maybe a weekend drink? Who was it?
Guilty.
All right, so-
Guilty.
I used to. No, I don't.
So there it is, guys. Yes, alcohol is sugar. There are some things
that you can do. So we're gonna give you our go-to guidelines. If you know you want to go out, have a drink, you're out to dinner. We're not gonna sugarcoat it, like we said. When you drink alcohol, your body's getting a signal that there's a toxic substance in your body. It will send all the resources it has to the liver to process these toxins as quickly as it can, and hence it will slow down ketosis. It will slow down.
It'll
ketone
stall it.
production.
You're eating all this fat, right? Okay, and then you're consuming this alcohol.
Right.
Now your body has to burn this toxin. Guess what? Your body's not burning that fat. Yeah, you're not kicked out of keto, but you're stalling yourself, and alcohol is very calorically dense, okay? It is a calorie.
Yeah.
And guess what? When you do 6 shots of vodka, yeah, it's no carbs, but you just did, maybe 800 calories, and now you're burning
Yeah,
something instead of burning fat.
if your liver is working so hard to fight the toxin of alcohol, it's gonna have a very hard time producing ketones because it's your liver. It can only do so much at one time. So it's either producing ketones or fighting off the toxin in the alcohol. And to your body, fighting off that toxin is priority 1. So that's why you can very easily stall your ketones.
We're gonna do it. This is the slide that's gonna show you what to do. And I would suggest, you keep it at 1 or 2 max. You're probably gonna be drunk off 2.
And yeah, that's exactly it.
You're gonna
You
get
will get
buzzed off 1, and you're gonna be on the floor. after
Yeah,
2.
your tolerance goes really low.
You hear that? I'm looking right
You
at
guys
you.
are like, sign me up.
All right, so the spirits, tequilas, Tito's, my favorite, whiskey, Scotch, bourbon. Really, optimally, you want to try to stick with the clear spirits. Those are the ones with a little bit less sugar. The vodkas, tequilas, clear rums. I do Tito's and club soda. If you're gonna do like a filler like that, club soda is the one to go with.
Why do you do Tito's?
It's gluten free.
There you go,
There you
baby.
go.
There you go.
Tito's is gluten free.
Keto.
Tito's and
Grey
keto.
Goose is not gluten free.
No.
Grey Goose is derived from wheat.
Yeah.
So just,
Yeah, so be mindful of that too, because that actually, consuming the gluten after you have cut it out and then putting it back in, even in the form of a vodka, can actually make the hangover a lot worse. So even when I do, like Anthony said before, he asked me, how do I feel when I eat pasta? I feel like shit the next day. I have literally a hangover. Like you would think I went out and did tequila shots all night. Like that's how it makes you feel. So if you're gonna do a vodka, Tito's is awesome because it's gluten free. My tolerance is super low. I can handle maybe 2 of them, and then you're carrying me out on your shoulder. But
Mix it with what Mike you doing? Water?
I usually my go-to is club soda. I throw a lemon and a lime on there, and I'm a happy man. You could also do like if you're at home and you're having like a party or something, you could do like the LaCroix, like the flavored seltzers. Most bars are probably not going to have that. You could do the Zivias. Those are the stevia sodas. Those are really good mixers. But if you're out and you're at a bar, club soda with one of these, throw a lemon and a lime on
And
there.
MCT
and you're ready to
oil.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw some MCT oil in there. You get a weird look from the bartender, but it's all right.
You just
And
bring
some of the
your
wines
own.
too. Some of these wines are low carb.
MCT oil to sushi bars.
That's what I do. I bring the little travel size brain octane. I get weird looks, but I don't care.
So you guys have down there, and that's if you want to dabble in wines. If you are a wine drinker, those are the ones to drink. What you see there is for 5 ounces. That's your sugar yield.
Yeah.
So you can see, taking 1 Pinot down, and you get 3.5 grams of sugar. You're too deep. Now you're at 7.
Adds up.
Champagne, believe it or not, is a good option.
If you are like a real wine drinker and you do want it, because who wants to drink 1 glass of wine? You're drinking the bottle. At least I would. They do have websites. There's one that Mark Sisson and Dave Asprey endorse big time. It's dryfarmwines.com, and it is all lab tested, and it's legit, no carbs.
Yeah.
There's also something called Fitvine.
Fitvine, which is
also
much
another one, and
Yeah.
I've seen them. I know there's a liquor store in Comac not closely here, but there you could check Fitvine's website.
They're
and
actually
some of your local liquor stores may have it.
They're actually starting to pop into Whole Foods now.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that.
So this is going into, all right, well, how do I know I'm in ketosis? I'm doing all this work. How do I know? First thing I would say is, even before getting into this, you always go off, and I encourage, don't always look at the scale. Put the scale away for the first few weeks. Go off how you feel. You start seeing cravings go down, if you start seeing your energy go up, things start to happen and change. That's how you know you're starting to get yourself now into ketosis. A couple things you might experience. You might get dry mouth, increased thirst, you might have frequent urination, and also you might hear the term keto breath, where you might have a little of that breath. Those are all real things that can happen. You know, those are good signs actually, because that means your body is actually getting into a fat burning state. But I mean, you guys
Also,
No,
too,
don't-
sorry.
I was gonna say those will pass too once
Yeah,
you're
they'll
fully fat
pass.
adapted.
Also, too, when you first start ketogenic dieting, for most people, there's a very big initial weight loss. What is that? That's water.
Yes.
That's cutting carbohydrates, and what that does is our glycogen depletes and we release water. So that's actually a good sign that you know, you can tell that you're getting into this state because your body's letting go of that water that you normally would hold when you do eat carbohydrates.
So measuring ketones. There's 3 main ways to do it. My favorite is the blood. I always think that blood is the most accurate. There's really no way around it. If you're in keto, if you're out of keto, the blood's not going to lie. Right? But there's also the urine strips and the breath ketone meters. So when I test my blood, I'm pretty sure Chris and Anthony both use the blood. Right, so it's the same thing. You prick your finger. You usually comes with one of those, whatever they're called, the thing. You press the button and it pricks your finger, and you test your blood. And that's going to tell you. You can either, you know, some people use a blood glucose reader and a ketone reader. I like the one Keto Mojo, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's the one that I usually use when I do
Precision
test.
Extra's another good one.
Yeah.
Not a question, but I wanna, instead of just coming to shop, I want you guys to test. Can you do that? Like
You got a
maybe
strip? Well, test me right now.
No, but I'm saying, no, I'm
Yeah.
serious.
Oh, to
Yeah,
test
yeah.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'll figure something out.
Yeah,
But
we'll do
I
something.
just want to make this point because this is a big mistake everybody makes. Elevated ketone levels do not equate to weight loss. You can drink a half a gallon of MCT oil or a half a bottle. Your ketones are going to be through the roof. That doesn't mean, you know, you're going to lose weight. Also, too, you could test your ketones in the morning. They're going to be low. That's just how it works. You are going to go work out. Your body's going to go burn through those ketones. You're going to go check an hour later. They're going to be low. Oh my God, am I not? No. It takes time. Your body will reproduce them at a higher rate a few later hours in the day. So don't be so strict with what are my ketone levels. You know, it's just, if your body's producing these ketones, you're in. So that's all you really have
Not to
worry
mention,
about.
like Anthony said, optimal ketones. So we're gonna show you a chart. There's one in your packets. You don't want high ketones. You want optimal level ketones, right? You'll see it on the chart like this, right? So that's optimal keto zone. So you really don't want to be too low. You don't want to be too high. And like Anthony said, don't go crazy with it. If you test between 0.5 and 1, that is a good sign. That means, hey, this is the beginning of it. I'm producing ketones and it's starting to get there. So like Anthony said, don't go crazy like, oh my God, if I'm not like 1.5 to 2.5, nothing's gonna work.
Or that you did something wrong.
Yeah, so it takes exactly what Anthony said. It takes time. You know, if you're testing one, you know, in this little 0.5 to 1, you're still producing ketones. You're getting there. It's on its way.
Yeah, don't get discouraged.
Just be patient.
And I've checked at 1.0 or 0.5, and 2 hours later, checked at 2.5.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter by that. Just use it as a guide to help you that you know you're in the state, and I wouldn't go, you know, too crazy about what your levels are.
Yeah, not to mention too, like the real way that you would want to go a little bit crazier is if you're, you know, under the supervision of a physician and you're in a medical state of ketosis for some medical reason. Then yes, you're gonna test all. But if you're just in a nutritional,
for
if
children.
you're in a nutritional state of ketosis for health or weight loss, you don't need to go crazy with it. It's obviously very helpful, but you don't need to go nuts with it.
All right, so there are concerns with the keto diet. People wondering, you know, if it's safe, is it sustainable? Can I do this over a course of period? The answers are yes, it's sustainable. Yes, you can do it. But here are some side effects that you may hear of, especially when it comes to diabetics and the word ketoacidosis being thrown out there. So basically, what ketoacidosis is when your ketones reach a really, really high extreme level, like Anthony and Mike were saying before, and it can actually cause your blood to become acidic. This is a very, very rare case. I mean, I haven't even known anybody that's experienced it.
Yeah,
But,
most of the time it's in type 1 diabetics.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
really in-
So like I mentioned before the seminar, you know, if you are type 1 diabetic, you know, you definitely want to explore talking about it with your physician prior to doing a
Absolutely.
ketogenic diet. You guys wanna have-
Keto Flu. I went through 2 weeks straight of Keto Flu because.
Has anybody here experienced?
Yeah, raise
that?
your hand real quick. Yeah. Sucked. It was good once it stopped, but like I said, I went through about 2 weeks of it because, like I said before, I didn't do it right. I had no help. I had no presentations and seminars to go to. I kind of just was like, I'm going to wing it and see what it's about. Right? That's from me I used to eat 250 to 300 grams of carbs a day. So I actually did that completely overnight, which it's not the right way to do it, but that's how I did it. It was a very drastic change. I went from 300 to under 30 overnight. So I was kind of asking for it, but mental fog, headaches, nausea, weakness, constipation, and dizziness, right?
Fatigue.
Fatigue too, yeah. I was so tired to the point where I literally could not keep my eyes open. Like I was like a zombie walking around. I was brain fogged. I couldn't put a sentence together to save my life. I was very fatigued. My workouts were suffering. I was trying to work and I couldn't do anything, right? So this is pretty normal. Like for you guys to have gone through it, you see that once you're over that speed bump, it's okay. For those of you who are going to try it or thinking about trying it, this can be, I think it's the next slide, but this can be very easily prevented or at least reduced. So
my big thing is too, when you first start a ketogenic diet, a way to avoid certain things, mental fogginess. Eat as much fat as you want the first 2 weeks. Do not worry about your calories. Don't say, all right, 1,800 calories, 100 grams of fat, because your body's going to be more hungry. You've been so used to eating carbs your whole life. So just eat the fat, enjoy it. Eventually, the ketones are going to start to produce, and you're going to eat less and less. As far as headaches go, the big thing with the headaches, hydration. Again, going back to depleting your glycogen in the beginning. So electrolytes, pink salt on your foods, that'll help that. Drink a bone broth. Sometimes your headache goes away like that.
And also too with headaches, meal frequency. You know, some people we'll get into this, or if you guys have questions about intermittent fasting, maybe you don't do that in the beginning, but meal frequency can help with those headaches too as well. Because that's usually your body getting acclimated, looking for food, looking for glucose. So increasing your meal frequency can do that. But back to hydration. I'll tell you guys a quick story. I was working with someone almost close to 400 pounds, a friend of mine, and he came in and he was sitting with me. He's like, I want to learn more about keto. I want to try it. Sat with him, explained it to him. So he started. He took the plunge. Usually this kind of happens not after day 1 or day 2. You get through it. It's like day 3, maybe day 2, day 3. It starts getting bad. 4th day in, he started losing weight pretty fast because he's a heavy guy, so the water weight was flushing off pretty fast. But he called me up and he said, I have severe cramps. I'm nauseous. I feel like I can't even eat food because I'm just lightheaded. I'm dizzy. So I said, you're drinking enough water. You hydrated. He goes, I'm drinking a gallon a day. And the important thing to remember here is that, like Anthony said, your body holds on to that water with carbohydrates. Your carbohydrates are gone. So if you don't have electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, especially sodium, you're not going to hold. So you could still drink all that water and chances are you're going to flush it out. And that dehydration is what causes symptoms. I said to him, take a teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt, put it in your water and drink it. Text him back in 20 minutes. I said, how do you feel? He's like, I couldn't believe it. Gone.
Yep.
He's like, I'm eating a meal 30 minutes later. It was that sodium. It was that dehydration, that cramping. That's what caused it. That caused that fatigue in him too. So it's very, very important to make sure that you're using Himalayan pink salt on your food, drinking plenty of water, get a good electrolyte supplement. Make sure those are, especially in the beginning, you're being very, very mindful.
The electrolytes
and
are what got my
this is a little gross, but the constipation, it does happen. A good prebiotic fiber, you can get a powder, put that in your coffee every time you do a bulletproof coffee. It'll help keep things regular, or even a regular probiotic one daily will definitely make a big difference on that.
Yeah, so how to prevent the keto flu, we just kind of discussed it. The electrolytes are literally what helped me get rid of mine, and 9 out of 10 times if customers come in and they say, hey, they explain the symptoms of it, we give them this electrolyte powder, the one that all of us use, and they usually come back and they're like, okay, yeah, that was really easy and it's good now. Plenty of water, Mct oil. We're going to keep going back to that, even class after class. We're going to keep going back to it. It's a staple in the ketogenic diet. And exogenous ketones, which is what I've been sipping on this entire time. I drink those every day. right? So that's a really good way. That's something you can pick up too when you first start. Exogenous ketones. So when you obviously we went over. Now we know what happens to fat when you eat it. It turns into ketones. That's endogenous ketones. These are exogenous ketones. It's a form of BHB, which is beta hydroxybutyrate. That's an actual ketone supplement. So this is something you could use every day, and that's one of the big things that can actually help prevent the keto flu.
So these are just some like points for you guys reference, little quick like adaptation remedies. So if you have a muscle cramp, you're gonna boost potassium, magnesium, palpitations, potassium, feeling weak, increase the sodium, bad breath, reduce your protein maybe a little bit, dizzy, increase sodium, headaches, so on and so forth. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but you guys have this little reference tool. And you can either use it when you do sodium, you can do a supplement, or you can do electrolyte powder, or you can do pink salt. There's just little things that you can do. The big one, like Anthony said, if you're not satisfied, or you get headaches, or you feel shaky or hangry, eat more fat. Don't be afraid to eat it. Eat more fat. That's the macro.
Not to mention the fat's going to keep you full and satisfied, that even when you do eat as much fat as you want, you're going to be so full and satisfied that the chances of you actually overeating are slim.
And
so
one
that's why we're
secret
saying
that actually wasn't on there too, apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
Drink that every morning. Not only is that going to help regulate your blood sugar and control appetite, but all those minerals that you just saw there, your potassium, your magnesium, your sodium, those will all get absorbed better. And what does that do? That will make you feel better. So drink your apple cider vinegar, dilute it in water, because it's very acidic. If you drink it straight, it'll ruin the enamel of your teeth and it'll burn your esophagus. But if you could do that 2 or 3 times a day, I guarantee you, and not only for just keto and absorbing the minerals, but it detoxes your gut, liver, kidneys. So it is very, very important to be doing that.
Show of hands, how many people drink coffee when they first wake up? Smell of coffee, baby, right?
I do.
So we all do, but maybe try making one commitment.
Probably too much.
When you first wake up, maybe you're drinking that apple cider vinegar.
Yep.
Maybe you want to just drink water with electrolyte, twist a lime, twist a lemon. You'd be surprised how fast you wake up from that electrolyte or that water, from that hydration. Sometimes just as good, if not better than that cup of coffee. Then have your coffee after, but it'll make a big difference. You're waking up and you're depleted.
It's one of the best times to drink it. I'm guilty of not, but
we
sometimes
all
I drink the coffee first, I'll work out, I'll come home, and now, I came from the era of bodybuilding, so it was always drink my shake after my workout. What do I do now? I actually drink my apple cider vinegar after I train, and that actually keeps me from eating after I train in a fasted state. And then also too, when you lift and you exercise, your blood sugar is going to go up no matter what, because your body's searching for glucose. There is always going to be some in our body, so that'll actually help bring it back down. So but like Chris said, you get it in.
Cool, so we are going to open this up now to you guys.
I have one more thing to add just from the shake, really quick. I got asked this question the other day, so I figured it was cool to really quick. Whoever works out, who thinks it's necessary for muscle recovery and muscle building or toning or whatever, that you have to eat protein or carbs within a half hour to an hour after your workout? Raise your hand. All right, cool, awesome. So just so you guys know, whether if you are working out, you do not have to consume anything, let alone protein and carbs, within an hour window of after your workout. Cool research, a cool study was done. I forget what the name of the university was. It was in Ontario. 109, I think, % increase of muscle recovery and actual optimal muscle building didn't occur until 24 hours after you stop training. So people were asking me, like Anthony does too, I train and fasted. It's not like today. It happened to have been like as I was done training, it was time to break my fast, which was cool. But most of the time, if I go a little earlier, I'm training fasted, and I still have, after I'm done working out, I still have about 2-3 hours until I'm breaking my fast. So people were asking me, won't you lose muscle? Won't you not tone as much? Whatever it is. So that's a cool little thing you guys can take home too. Your body doesn't start recovering and building muscle until about 24 hours after you're done working out. So you don't have to rush and get home and stress about, if I don't have it within an hour, I'm going to lose muscle. So that's the myth busted.
And it's basically impossible to lose muscle in a ketogenic state. So when you're in this state and your body's producing these ketones and you're using them for fuel, it will not rip through stored muscle tissue. So that's like an ultimate benefit of losing fat. So people that want to people don't want to lose weight, because when you lose weight, and that's the problem with like a regular caloric deficit diet. All right, I'm going to eat 1,500 calories a day, and I'm going to lose weight. Yeah, you're going to lose weight, but what are you losing? You're losing fat and you're losing muscle. So nobody wants that. You want to hold that muscle that you work so hard to build. So when you're in this ketogenic state, your body's going to lose that fat and you're going to retain your muscle, and you're not going to be in such a caloric deficit. You might even be in an increasing caloric deficit. And that's basically like the ultimate goal, I think, you know, as far as, you know, a look aspect.
I just want to ask the group, when Mike was talking about fasting, is everybody familiar with that term and what he means by that? If not, you could raise your hand and we can explain it. But there is, we didn't really get into this, but maybe as we further progress, there's something called intermittent fasting, where you're not eating for a 16-hour window. So like Mike may say, he may have his last meal at 8 o'clock at night, and then, you know, he might train in the morning and go all the way till noon, so he's going to break his fast. So if he's training at 8 or 10 a.m., and then after his workout, he's still not consuming anything, and then breaking the fast at noon, or, you know, whatever the time is. That's what he means by that when he says in a fasting state. His body doesn't really have anything caloric in it.
And what does that do? Again, goes back to the point, you are using stored body fat to power you through your workout.
All right, so guys, this is your time now. This is your questions.
Go ahead, Nadine. No, I'm only
I got to shop. I'm going to Hawaii. I got to shop.
All right.
So the good news is, like, when we go out, like, you know, we go out all the time. I mean, we close up here.
There's always better options.
There's keto options,
So I
right?
feel like I'm gonna go out and have a killer pasta dish, and
Right.
I'm gonna drink a bottle of wine,
Right.
and I want ice cream and
Truth be told,
That
right?
sounds like a good night.
Yeah. Truth be told, right?
You
If
can't
you
eat
do
ice
it,
cream, bro.
you're putting the glucose back in your body. So that's a choice you
Can't do
make,
anything.
right?
Stick with the
But we all want to live, right? We all want to have fun. We all want to enjoy ourselves. We all want to have reward meals or cheat meals. Can they be done? Yeah, they can be done. But you want to get yourself in a state, and I think the guys would agree with me, that you want to get yourself fat adapted. You want to get yourself acclimated to using fats. Like Mike mentioned earlier, when, like, think of the fuel meter, glucose and, you know, fat. If your body constantly doesn't know and you give it both, it's just never going to know to go with fat. It's always going to, you've been eating glucose, you've been using glucose your whole life.
Can I ask you something? How long have you been doing the diet? Or
enough of the month.
okay, so I always advise give it a month, and then if you want to give yourself a cheat meal, do it.
So
Okay.
like once you guys are established, let's say you go out and do like crazy cheat meal.
Right.
Like he'll let us take the extra over again. He'll
No,
let us take.
so Anthony will explain his trick, like usually it's a meal, it's not a whole day of binging, even though we'd love to do that, but.
No, like yeah, like a one
Right,
meal.
like
Even if it's a whole day, all right, fast the next day,
Right, that's what he
or just start back. You know, you're only gonna put 200-300 carbs in your body. You work out, you fast, they're gonna go. The thing is, just, you know, your body you're gonna feel like crap the next day.
Yeah.
All right, but I'll tell you this: you might start with a fast day, a cheat day for a week. All right, or every week you might allow yourself to do it. All right. And then it's going to change. And the longer you do this, that's why I asked, how long have you been doing this for? In 6 months, you're probably going to be doing it once a month. And in a year, you're probably not even going to be doing it at all. Not because, you know, you're just going to feel you don't need to, because you feel so good from doing this. And there are always options for sweets, whatever it is. If it's a waffle, if it's a pancake. Yeah. I mean, there's options for everything. But I get in the beginning, it's, you know, you're changing your whole way of life, right? I get in the beginning, you're gonna want those. But eventually, like, this just becomes lifestyle, and it's just automatic. And it takes time. Everybody's different. For me, it took about a year. I used to do it, a cheat meal once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. Now I don't even do it. I'll be honest. And it's not because I don't want to. I mean, it's not because I despise it or I look down on it. I just don't want it. You know, you can sit next to me and eat pizza. And I grew up, me and Chris are brothers, we ate pasta, and, you know, like, it was every day. And I ate Taco Bell 5 years ago. It was whatever, you know, but now it's just, you just get used to feeling good. And you don't want that bad feeling the next day.
And like Anthony said, if you do it, think about what the next day looks like for yourself. Maybe you want to fully fast. Maybe you want to try to go 24 hours or a whole day, or at least hold that fast a little longer so that glucose is depleted. Maybe you want to go kill it in the gym that next day, you know, like something just to burn through that glucose.
When you fast, do you drink coffee or you don't?
Great question. So, back to what we were saying before with intermittent fasting, you have a window of 8 hours where you're eating. Coffee, black, is not going to really break a fast. It will stimulate some glands, so some people may say yes, it technically is. But if you're referring to bulletproof coffee, meaning putting Mct oil or butter in your coffee, there's two ways you can look at it. Calorically, yes, you break the fast. But there are benefits to doing it during your fasting period. And one of those is, remember when we said fats don't produce insulin. So in that fasting period, you don't want your body to produce insulin, so you can stay in a fat burning mode. So that bulletproof coffee can satisfy you, give you energy, allow you to get through your morning, and get through your day, or maybe get through your workout. So it will break fast, but it still has the benefits to help you for cognitive function, fat burning. The only benefit you're going to miss is the recovering and the recharging of your body. And, you know, when you're fasting, your body's not working, you're not digesting, your glands aren't stimulating, all these things are going on, so your inflammation is reduced, your body's recovering, your cells are recovering. So that's the one little benefit that you miss out on. Personally, I've done both. I feel great when I drink bulletproof coffee during my fasting period, and I'll let these guys
And
tell
it'll prolong your fast too. So you drink that coffee, and that fast went from, instead of eating at 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do too. During my fast, I fast for 16 hours. I drink the apple cider vinegar with the pink Himalayan salt and lemon. I drink 2 cups of black coffee, and I do my exogenous ketones. Technically, exogenous ketones have enough, they have 40 calories per serving. Technically, someone would argue that takes you out of your fast. But, like Chris said, the benefits of me drinking actual exogenous ketones in a fasted state are going to far outweigh me stressing over the calories taking me out of my fast.
Exactly.
So, just to be clear though, if I had just black coffee and I didn't even think about the apple cider vinegar, I would have thought that I wouldn't have used none of that. Would you say you're breaking it for that at all?
No, that's going to help the fast big time.
That's going to improve you. That's going to be more beneficial drinking that during a fasted state than not.
And remember, salts too.
Electrolytes, salts.
Yeah.
You know, and you can do your coffee. And if you want to do any kind of fat, the coffee, that would technically, like you said, break the fast, but you could still maintain some benefits. And in the beginning of doing a ketogenic diet, it can help. It can help with the hunger, it can help with the energy. So there are benefits. And, you know, you can even encourage yourself maybe to start with a 10-hour eating window, and then go to 9, and then go to 8, and slowly, every 2 days, start to stretch yourself a little more thin, not stretch, but pull yourself a little thin and shorten that window. In the beginning, that might be something you might do.
How much apple cider?
What was that?
How much apple cider?
I mean, 2 tablespoons. You could do 1 tablespoon twice a day, but what do you guys do?
I like 2 in a big glass
Yeah, I
of
do
water,
too.
a little
About a
lemon,
shot of fire cider.
and some pink cider. Well, I don't do the fire cider because you really should dilute apple cider vinegar, like I said.
Yeah, I would do
The benefit of doing the apple cider vinegar in the morning.
Well, it's an awesome detox.
Right.
So like you're gonna detox your whole body, and then it also controls the hunger hormone. So it's just gonna make your fast easier.
Right.
And then, like I said, put that pink salt in there, so you have your electrolytes. You could put cream of tartar in there and get that extra potassium. It's so versatile, but it only will help the fast.
How do you do just give the dilution again on your apple cider?
I do 2 tablespoons in I take a regular, probably like a 12-ounce glass of water, and I put it in
And then
there.
how much do you
A touch, you know.
Not that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just do like a little pinch of Himalayan.
You don't need that much. It's very high.
I'm just gonna throw this in. It's funny you mentioned cream of tartar, but I used to break out. I mean, terribly. I had to go rush to the hospital after breaking out in hives, and my grandmother told me to take cream of tartar.
It's loaded in potassium, which
Yeah.
is very good.
So,
Food is medicine.
I've never even heard
Yeah.
anybody talk about it before.
Water's pretty important, right? Half the body weight ounces a day.
It's okay. Yeah, of course, man. You got to do like a gallon a day.
Talk about the alkalinity of water, what type of water, and like
I think it's a lot more important than everyone thinks. People try really hard to either eat healthy or eat keto, and then they're drinking things like Poland Spring, and they're not realizing that that's almost as bad as consuming unhealthy foods, if not as bad. So you want to be mindful of the water you're consuming as well as the food you're consuming. So going back to the alkalinity, you want to try to get a pH balanced water. Like Essentia, we have the fill up station in the back, which is really optimal because it should be held in glass. So this 9.5 pH level reduces the alkalinity, reduces the acidity throughout the body. So if you have something like acid reflux or whatever, digestive issues, gut health issues, alkaline water every day can be huge. Not to mention disease, cancer, things like this thrive in an acidic environment. They can't live in an alkaline environment. So by drinking alkaline water every day and using that instead of whatever water you're drinking, you're going to be doing your body a huge favor, and you're going to start noticing things like your immune system is going to improve, your brain function will improve, your digestion and gut health will improve. Not to mention, if you're adding that with the keto diet, it's
Nice.
that's a
It'll
nice
help keep you
combination.
hydrated. It'll also buffer lactic acid.
Just speaking of the C word, but I know it's a fine line when you talk about this, I'm not a doctor, but does everybody here know what drives cancer and what foods it grow? Inflammation, yes.
Yep.
And what else?
Sugar.
Glucose.
That's its food. That's its fuel source.
Glucose.
Cancer cells feed on sugar.
So, I mean, there's a lot of studies now with ketogenic dieting, people that have cancer, and they're relying on things like
Yeah.
alkaline water, ketogenic dieting, plentiful greens, all things that are reducing inflammation in the body to help not create an environment where that cancer will grow.
And if you guys have family members that are sick or that are going through something, this whole ketogenic concept was, the research started with one specific doctor, Dominic D'Agostino, and he was doing this, as ways to find to cure these types of cancer through nutrition instead of drugs and prescriptions and stuff like that. So you could always read about his story and his information. It's very, very informative.
They've already got to, they're going to.
What was that?
What if they're going to?
I mean, I've read that actually even fasting, I know it's hard, but actually fasting during chemotherapy
Yeah.
is very, very therapeutic. But, I know it would be a challenge, but, it could actually be very beneficial.
A big picture question. Some people have been talking about using keto for just like a way of like cleansing, a way of like purging their system, or like basically as like a temporary thing. But you guys have been talking a lot about like making it like more like a long term, like a lifestyle change. Would you say that that's really what keto should be focused on? Is less about like cleaning you out and more about just living this way?
I mean, there's
It could go.
cyclical keto,
It could go
there's-
either way, really.
Really?
Yeah, it's really preference. I know that in times maybe, where I feel like I want to change it and I maybe want to incorporate some carbs, or I want to look at starches or things like that, for whatever reason, whether it's athletic or maybe I want to put on muscle, or maybe I just, those are things you can do. And there's science on cyclical keto now too. A lot of people are talking about it, but it can be a lifestyle for somebody, and it's very well sustainable. And at the same time, if somebody wants to just do it, whether it's seasonally or, for a few months, I mean, I'm sure we all know people that do that. So there's no right or wrong to it. It's really more preference.
It also
Right.
depends on why you're doing
Right.
it too. It depends on what you're doing keto for.
Right.
So I know some
Exactly.
people who they'll eat healthy and they'll eat like a paleo lifestyle during the winter and winter and fall months as their regular, and then for the summertime they'll do like a little short-term ketogenic, and then they'll go back in September on paleo, and they'll cycle it that way. Even for me, I do one carb day a week. I keep it very clean. It's not a cheat day. It's not a cheat meal. My carbs are gluten-free, grain-free. I do things like cassava. I'll eat things like the bagel. I'll eat things like cassava chips. So I still have a little bit higher carbs than I'm used to, and I do that once a week. And I play around with it. I've done keto 7 days a week. I do now keto 6 days a week with one carb day. I'm gonna try it for a couple weeks, see how it works, because one carb day is not gonna really mess with my ketogenic state.
And also too, like what Mike says, if you do a high carb day, if you're doing a little bit of carbs, like you're doing a berry and you're gonna add some MCT, that's good. But what you kind of want to avoid is if you're gonna do a carb day where you're doing 100 or 200 or 300 carbs, you don't want to have your 200 grams of fat that day.
Yeah.
Be mindful. With
Yeah,
your
you wanna
fats,
keep the fat a little
fats
bit lower.
But if it's like a little bit and you're gonna have some berries, and like Anthony said, you're gonna do that combination, that's okay. Just when if you're going real high carb, on that day or that meal you go out, just, you know.
Yeah, just be mindful
Just
of
be
that.
mindful.
Even me, I keep my fat like more moderate.
Right.
Because even my carb day, my carbs still don't go over 100 grams of net for the day, just because my brain is reprogrammed and I can't bring myself to eat more than 100 carbs a day because I just don't know, I just can't. So that's like 100 grams of carbs a day net is like, that's my carb.
And that's
day.
all you might need to restore
Yeah.
your glycogen.
But I do drop my fat a little bit from where it normally is.
So that's not going to disrupt keto because you're basically in that ketogenic state.
When
as
you're
it
fat
is.
adapted.
Yeah, at this
Right.
point, my body's
Body's
fat
adapted.
adapted to the point where even if I have that carb day, I'm back in, I could test and I'm back in the ketosis.
It might
the
not
next
even
day.
kick you out.
Yeah, it could not even,
Right.
yeah, it might not even.
Right, okay, so that's what you were saying before. As long as you've already done it long enough, you've reached that state, then you can start playing around with the formula.
Exactly, yep.
Just stay the course at least for the first like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, 4 to 6 is a perfect time to.
All right,
Stay the
cool.
course with us.
So I have a question. So I'm just absorbing this and knowing where I've been for the last almost 6 years.
You gonna stop doing paleo now and join the club?
I feel like I'm so close, and if I had to tip the scale, it would be protein would be coming down and fats would be coming up.
Yeah, you know, I
Because
would-
everything else,
I wouldn't stress too much about protein, especially if you're crossfitting like you do, or you know, I mean, the protein is like if you're eating mounds and mounds of protein and
No.
drinking shakes and this and that, I don't count my protein.
No.
And I check my blood sugar and my ketone levels religiously. Protein has never, the only thing was high protein whey shakes have really budged my numbers. But other than that, like, you know, eat your protein. Like Chris said, you get a fistful. You're not just eating pounds of meat and this and that. That's not what we're doing.
but when I'm breaking my fast, it's normally with 2 hard-boiled eggs,
Yeah.
half an avocado, and a tablespoon of mayonnaise.
as keto as it gets, what primal mayo, right?
Of course,
All right,
the
all
Chipotle
right. Just
one.
making sure.
That's the next one. I love that one.
The Chipotle one.
Yeah.
You
And
should test your blood. You may not even
Oh, I've
know.
tested it.
I
He's
have
got
the
good blood sugar. He
machine.
does. I
No,
got
I mean, did you test his ketones? You may not even
I've
know.
never tested ketones. I've tested blood sugar.
You probably would
You
test
might
into a
be-
light state of
And not
ketosis,
even,
yeah.
but here's the you did point out one thing that I might shake up is that post-workout shake that I religiously have, which is the paleo protein, which is about 26 grams of protein, grass-fed, you know, the egg
Yeah.
whites. You're saying no.
No,
No,
it's
well,
not
to
whey.
whey. Yours is in a whey shake.
No, it's not a waste.
Yours is a steak and an egg shake,
Yeah.
which is less insulinogenic. Whey is very insulinogenic.
Yeah.
So you're good.
Yeah,
I
you're
would
good.
I would throw a little fat in it too, just to keep the ketones going.
Well,
but it's not going to kick you out.
So what am I going to change?
Well,
I
mean,
don't eat dairy because it rips through me like a buzzsaw.
So if you're not eating
Are you
carbs,
eating
then
sweet potatoes?
rarely, you know, I have a bagel every day.
If you do the bagel every day, then you may, if you're staging it around your workouts, maybe.
Yeah, if you tested your blood
You
ketones,
should
you
test
probably
your
test
yeah,
it like,
we'll test you one day.
yeah.
Right.
and also too, just with like you hear us talking about blood sugar and ketones and checking ketones. A cool way to actually know, and it's very easy. You can go to Walgreens, CVS. You could just buy a blood sugar meter and blood sugar strips, and they're very cheap. And you could just check your blood sugar after you eat something, after you work out. If you're fasted and your blood sugar is like 70s, that's perfect. You're in a basically ketogenic state. If you eat a big salad meal or a fatty meal, your blood sugar might jump up to 85 or 90, but you don't want your blood sugar jumping up to 120, 130, 140, because that's when your ketones are going to drop. So, I mean, it's a cool way to test products and just kind of see if you're doing things right without having to check ketones by blood, because ketone strips are very expensive. And sometimes, like I said, your ketone levels might be fluctuating anyway, and you know, it's not really that important.
So that blood sugar.
So
level
I
should be
like checking blood
72.
sugar in a fasted state. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? How often do you test? Good question. Basic chest, I mean, you could test in the morning, coming out of a fasted state, being in sleep. And then, you know, if you want to, me personally, I don't test myself every day. I just know that, you know, I'll do what Anthony says, and if I try an experiment, or I have more carbs, or I do something, or I try a product, and then I test to see how I'm doing with that, that's how I've begun to explore. But if you're somebody just starting out, you can test in the morning, and then most likely you'll be rising in the afternoon sometimes, especially if you're using things like Mcts or exogenous ketones. So, you know, you can encourage yourself to test once or twice a day. You know, it can get expensive to do that all the time because they're like $1 a strip, and, right?
It's fun to test at the beginning. Everybody wants to see,
Yeah,
and everybody,
excited
you
to
know,
track
it's
progress.
cool. And like
Don't
me,
let it
Christian,
discourage you either, though.
we check the legitimacy of all the products in the store. So when something comes into our stores and it says 2 carbs and it's a cookie this big, you know, we want to make sure. So we'll eat it and then we'll check our blood sugar and our ketones after, just to validate that it is what it says it is. Because sometimes it's like, I'm eating a cookie, oh my God, like this doesn't feel right. But guess what? It is, and you don't have to feel guilty.
Some coffee addict.
Yeah.
Total coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, I can survive on
My new best friend.
What's the deal with bulletproof coffee? Is it once a day? Is it twice a day? I mean, I take my coffee with a smidge or half an hour of cream, just like it's almost black, but I need to have
Yeah.
a creaminess to it,
Yeah.
to get the acidity really
Right.
of the black coffee.
Right.
So, I guess, what do I do?
So you use whipping cream, heavy cream?
Use heavy cream or I use
You-
half and half?
You could still use the heavy cream. I would say use that over the half and half, because the heavy cream is gonna yield the fat. Just make sure you get a good one, organic restoration.
Yeah.
Organic Valley makes one,
Yeah.
that's what I use. You know, you can feel free to use a grass-fed butter. That'll give it that creaminess, that'll give it a little buttery flavor. But going back to what Anthony said earlier, very, very important, you might wanna put MCT oil in that coffee.
Right,
That's
how
what
many, so,
Right.
I mean, I don't know, some days I drink 6 cups of coffee.
Awesome.
Do you,
Sounds about
are
right.
you currently doing ketogenic or no?
So I'm on day 2
two.
of just tracking,
Good.
and seeing how it goes and learning, right? So, but these are questions that I have. I haven't done the bulletproof coffee yet.
Okay.
I have all the stuff.
Just so you know too, drink the bulletproof coffee itself, because like you said, with the acidity in coffee, you know, if you're drinking, if you go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a bag of coffee, it's going to be a much different quality coffee. So the
Yeah.
bulletproof one is lab tested for mold myotoxins, and it is much, much less acidic. Also too, when you make that coffee, if you don't mind the taste, put a little cinnamon in it. That is my big secret, because that's going to help regulate blood sugar. Again, going back to everything that blood sugar plays into ketogenic. So cinnamon is one of the ultimate things to put into your coffee, along with the MCTs and the butter.
But
Yeah,
you
that's-
put MCTs in, so would I put an MCT in every, obviously you wouldn't do it every cup.
I mean, the coffee for you is gonna lessen. So you say you're at 6 or 5. I'm telling you, after 2 or 3 weeks of doing this and you get fat adapted, you're not gonna need that much coffee. You're gonna need 1 or 2 cups. And then put it in every cup you drink.
So if
'Cause
I
it's-
do a morning and like a 3 o'clock.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's about what I do.
Perfect.
And then sometimes I sneak
Yeah.
one in, put it in, put the cinnamon in there, put the MCT oil in there. If you want, put the butter in. Sometimes I do double shot of MCT instead. We didn't really touch into it, but there are 3 types of MCTs. So there's lauric acid, caprylic acid, and caprylic acid. Caprylic acid is the best MCT. So there's a product by Bulletproof called Brain Octane. It's carbonate C8. That is the holy grail of MCTs. So if you could use that one in your coffee, do that, because that's going to elevate ketones in your body exogenously, like Mike said before, the best, and it's also going to give you that energy and that cognitive function.
So do you have to add the bulletproof coffee recipe, I guess,
Mhm.
right? Every website you look at
Yeah.
has different recipes.
Yeah.
Is it
we can,
coffee,
right?
MCT oil with a slash of heavy cream and I'm good?
Yeah, or you could use butter, or you could use heavy cream. It doesn't matter.
Do you use butter instead of the heavy cream?
I drink coffee every day, so I switch it up. Some days I do heavy cream, some days I do butter. You know, as long as it's organic heavy cream and grass-fed butter, you're
The
good.
key is though you gotta beat it up in a blender.
In a blender?
Yeah.
After a year, you just drink oil on top of your coffee and you just love it. You don't even gotta worry.
Can I ask a question off your coffee addiction
Sure.
issue that I have? I think one of the things she's asking, which I get, is I do my butter, my MCT oil, and then I cut it with unsweetened almond milk. And I'll have 2 or 3 cups, and I'll always just add more almond milk into it. Am I better than that if I do the heavy cream? Then I
Well,
worry
if
about
you
it.
just want more fat to control the appetite,
I just want to cut the coffee because I like it.
yeah, that's fine. Unsweetened almond milk's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Or is it better?
Well, heavy cream's gonna be a lot more fat.
Right.
So it all depends. Do you want the extra fat, or do you want to just cream the coffee and lighten it so you don't have as much? That's up to you. You know.
A big thing too, like Anthony said before, I don't know if everyone, but the quality of your coffee.
Stop.
So yes, it's what you're putting in your coffee, but it's also there's a big difference between getting a deli cup of coffee and getting a lab-tested coffee that you might find here or Whole Foods or whatever. A lot of these coffees, like we said before, the legumes, beans. Coffee is a bean. It has mold in it, mycotoxins. That's why if you drink a shitty cup of deli coffee, you're probably going to feel really tired about 20 minutes later because the mold is going around and causing inflammation and attacking your cells. So, yes, putting that stuff in your coffee makes a great bulletproof coffee, but I would spending maybe extra $1 or $2 on a good quality lab tested for mold coffee opposed to like a Folgers or a Maxwell House or something. It's going to be much less acidic and it's going to be a much higher quality of coffee.
And that's good for acid reflux. Or
I was just going to say, my acid reflux, mine was so bad to the point where I was in the hospital for it. I spent 7 days in the hospital because my acid reflux was that bad. That was still in the beginning of keto. So I literally didn't change anything besides the quality of my coffee and drinking some alkaline water, and it went away. So I use a caveman coffee, bulletproof coffee, organic single origin coffee instead of like a Folgers or a Maxwell House. And not only did that make for a better cup of coffee, but it made for the coffee actually giving me the polyphenols and antioxidants and the good quality that I actually want.
If you're on the road,
Good question. If you're on the road, it's a little bit different, but you could also do things like, you know, the sail away cans right there. If you like cold brew coffees, you could do that. That's a local coffee, almost not acidic at all. Like I drink my coffee black, and I find no acidity. I'll be honest with you, I have probably about 4 of those a day, and my acidity is nowhere to be found.
On
But
the road,
most of
I'll
it, yeah.
just, if I may interject,
Please.
because I'm psychotic.
We all are. We all are.
Get a French press and bring your own coffee.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pack. Even the better quality coffees like Starbucks and stuff, it's not any better. It's really not. Like they'll make it out to be. It might be a slightly better quality, but it's still gonna be very acidic. So either bring your own, like Steve said, or stock up on stuff like that and keep it in the fridge. If you know you're gonna be out on the road that day, grab one to go.
I cheat.
Makes a big difference. I'm also a coffee snob, so whatever. Any other questions?
MCT powder versus the oil?
All right. So
Just on the road
yeah,
again, right?
on the road, if you're gonna do a powder, my recommendation would be to grab the Instamix packets by Bulletproof, because again, it's going to be caprylic acid. Whereas if you get any other MCT powder from any other company, they're not going to disclose what MCTs they use. So like I said, in the coffee during the fast, he's the only, Dave Asprey, Bulletproof, they're the only ones that use that caprylic acid. So I would always recommend doing that. Is it a good option to get MCTs in on the road and you need to do it? Do it. There's also emulsified MCTs that you could pour in that will blend right in. So you could do either way, but my favorite would be the Instamix by Dave Asprey.
I just want to hand you guys out some quick, like, little recipe treats, and if you guys left your email, I'll email you guys these recipes. A big thing with keto diet is I kind of like sweets. I need some desserts, or I need some quick ways to get some good fat. That's always a concern. So like these are 3 little recipes that we have that are like 2-3 ingredients, simple. You can do it at home, bang it out, make yourself a good way to get some healthy fats and kind of kill the sweet tooth at the same time. One I have here is it's like a mousse. So it's full fat coconut, avocado, a little bit of erythritol, lime, and that's it. The other thing I have is a cookie dough ball. It's cream cheese, so if you do have a dairy sensitivity, peanut butter, and no foods chocolate chips that are sugar-free, made without it. That's it. Then I have a nut butter cup. It's just almond butter, coconut oil, no food sugar-free syrup, and a couple of their chips in it. It's like there's nothing in these things. I made for all you guys in 10 minutes, 20 minutes in all this batch. So it's so easy to do at home. So you guys can try it out. You wanna give it a
What about these keto shakes? How do you implement that?
So that's basically a nice, easy way to get extra fat in without having to make a meal. So they're about 30 grams of fat. You're 1 net carb a shake, all healthy fats, collagen protein again, so no whey. So it's a good option, at work, or if you just feel like you want to shake sometimes. And I'll tell you, the ketology ones, they keep you full. So you do that, you just mix it with water, you want to throw nut butter in there, and you got a meal, and you're hitting your fat macros, you're keeping your protein low. and you're gonna be full.
What time of day would you recommend?
That whatever best time works for you, that's what I would say. Always.
So what if it's the end of the night and you have a lot of fat left to eat?
Oh, I never have a lot of fat left to eat. I get it all during the day. Macadamians or anything like that. And I wouldn't worry, like, if you don't hit your fat at the end of the day, like, I'm a believer in not counting what I eat. I just make sure I eat a lot of fat, I keep my carbs low, and, you know, my protein moderate. How was that? What? Good.